back to East Coast Wagering. As I noted in the video I put out yesterday in which I broke down the entire Churchill card, today I want to look at the Woodbine card in the late pick 5 there, which includes 4 graded stakes races and concludes with a wide open maiden optional claimer. Woodbine offers their pick 5 in 20-cent increments, and based on how deep some of these fields are, I plan to take full advantage of that. With deep fields comes great value, and I think that this pick 5 has the potential to pay big. So let's take a look at my selections. The pick 5 starts in race 7, the first of the 4 graded stakes races, the G3 Selene, going a mile and a 16th on the all-weather track for 3-year-old fillies. And we have 8 quality horses in this field, but I did think about singling one of them. Ultimately, I decided I was a tad more comfortable with my top selection in the next race, which I'll get to momentarily, but I wanted to go super deep in the later parts of this pick 5 sequence because I think those fields are completely wide open and super deep. My top selection here is the number 8, CATICHE, who you can see here winning impressively over a field of non-winners of one other than. She pressed a slightly quick pace in that one, and at the far turn, when the field appeared to be going by her, she kicked away for an easy score. I see a similar trip here with the outside post and the presence of the number 5, who likes to be on the lead. She looks like the move back to the all-weather track at the mile and a 16th distance has suited her well, as she is 2 for 3 in her last 3 with the second place in the other race. I'm going to add 2 other horses in this leg who I find intriguing, but if CATICHE runs that last race again, I think she's going to be very difficult to beat here. My second selection is the number 4 horse, Ephrata, who I'm very excited to play if she goes off anywhere around her morning line price of 8-1. She finished 4th last out in a non-winners of one other than, losing a 3-way photo for 2nd. She ran wide that entire race after breaking a bit slow. It looked like she wanted to go coming down the stretch, but based on the way that she ran 3 wide and her first try at a route, she just came up a little bit empty. She had shown a big effort in her first race where she won decisively on the all-weather at 7 furlongs. Then she showed she could get the route distance on the turf. This race is the distance she ran last out, but on the surface she ran her better race, and I think she will get a better trip this time around, likely stalking in I think 3rd or 4th place possibly. If CATICHE doesn't put away all the other horses and run from the front end, I think this 4 has a huge chance at a nice price. The third horse that I'm going to play in this leg is the number 2 Pioneer's Edge, who last out lost by a head in the Fury Stakes going 7 furlongs. In that race, this filly ran into quite a bit of traffic throughout the race, needing to check a little bit in the backstretch and then getting stuck behind a wall of horses in the stretch. She moved out to get clear, and once she had a burst of speed that nearly got her the win, but she came up just a bit short. She does stretch out to a route for the first time, but based on her breeding, this distance should not be an issue at all for her. If the pace comes up fast and she progresses the same way she did from 1st to 2nd lifetime starts, then I think this horse could get the victory. Race 8 is the second leg of the pick 5. It's the Grade 2 Nassau Stakes going a mile on the turf for fillies and mares 4-year-olds and up. And as I mentioned before, this is the race that I'm going to go thin in. I'm going to single the number 2 horse here, Lady Spitespear, because she looks like the most logical single on the entire card. I think there's other horses in this race that can win, but I'm going to go with her and hope that she can get the victory because I want to go deeper elsewhere in other legs. In her last race, the Grade 2 Distaff Turf Mile, she finished 4th of 6th after stalking the pace but coming up empty against the closers when they turned for home. Though this is a Grade 2, it still feels like a class relief for this filly, as there's no one in this race with the talent level of the horses she's been losing to. Speak of the Devil, Regal Glory, and Bleecker Streak, just to name a few. She moves back to Woodbine after being well-traveled. She's 3 for 3 at this track on the turf, including the Grade 1 Natalma at this distance. Admittedly, she hasn't raced at this track in quite some time, but based on her performances against stiffer competition, she is the horse to beat in my opinion. The filly that concerns me the most in this race, and possibly the horse that scares me the most by leaving her off my pick 5 ticket, is the number 3 horse in this race, Plum Ali, who threw in an absolute clunker in her last out effort, the Grade 3 Beaujais. In that race, she was allowed to walk on a dawdling pace, but she had absolutely nothing left at the end, finishing last of 7 without any real excuse. Interestingly, her jockey in this race, Dylan Davis, last outrode the number 8 horse here, Our Flash Drive, in the Beaujais to a 2nd place finish. Davis opts for the mount change to Plum Ali, even though that previous mount had a better showing last out. The cutback to a mile could help her as she ran well at this distance prior to the Beaujais, winning the Plenty of Grace Stakes, but this is a step up from that race, and she will certainly not be allotted the same easy pace that she was allowed in the Beaujais. In fact, I don't think she's going to be on the lead at all. I think she's going to be relegated to a stalking position because I think your front runner is actually going to come from the outside post, the number 11 horse, Dreaming of Drew. The middle leg of the pick 5 is race 9. It's the Grade 3 Marine Stakes going a mile and 16th on the all-weather track for 3-year-olds. And both of my top 2 selections come out of the same race. The number 1 Ironstone and the number 4 Ron Dor both raced last out in the Queenston Stakes, and they finished less than a head apart in a 3-way blanket photo. Ironstone stalked the pace on the rail about a length behind the pace setter. He had plenty of horse left in the stretch once he got clear, but finished third of the 3 in the photo. Ron Dor came from the back of the pack, but closed with a ton of interest after fanning 6 wide into the stretch, but he also came up just short, finishing second. This race is a stretch out in comparison to that 7 furlong race, but Ironstone had previously finished second at the mile and 16th distance in a Grade 3, and although Ron Dor has not gone beyond 7 furlongs, it seems based on the way he is running late that the added distance should not be a problem for him either. Both horses ran a career best speed figure in that last race, and both appear to be getting better each time they go. If either of these take another step forward, then they're probably going to be the likely winner. You also have to respect the chances of the number 8 horse Mannix, who last out won over the same distance in a non-winners of one other than Allowance Field. In that race, he got bumped entering the first turn and was a bit headstrong after getting in tight early in the backstretch. But his jockey did a good job of getting him relaxed, and in the stretch he was able to put away the field, grinding out almost a length victory. I always like to see a horse, especially a young one, that can battle adversity and come away with a win. Emma Jane Wilson is back on board after that great ride in his last effort. Both of this horse's wins and also his best 2 speed figures have come on the all-weather track, so I think this horse definitely has a shot at a very nice price. I'm going to add one more from this race in the pick 5. The number 6 Duke of Love also finished near the winners in the Queenston, getting 4th as the favorite. He could improve at the longer distance, so I'm going to throw him in there and go 4 deep in this race. The last of the stakes races is race 10. It's the Grade 2 Highlander going 6 furlongs on the turf for 4-year-olds and up. Ultimately, I'm going to go 4 deep in this leg, but I do think there's some other horses that have a shot. This is a very difficult pick 5 sequence, but that's what makes this interesting, and that's how you find value. My top selection is the number 11 Arzak, who last out won in the Grade 3 Jacques Cartier, basically taking the field gate to wire as he split horses early to grab the lead and then never looked back. There are other speed types in this race, so he will likely not be sent, but this horse has won from a stalking position before. He is 2 for 2 since the 5-month layoff and since picking up high percentage jockey Kazushi Kimura. The main concern is can he duplicate that form on the turf, as both of those efforts were on the all-weather track. He has run well on the turf at sprint distances before, and if Kimura can get him more forwardly placed early like he has been in his last 2, I like his chances. Note that 2 of my other selections come out of this same race, the number 5 Tap It to Win and the number 7 Silent Poet. Tap It to Win ran well and had late kick on the rail for second, and Silent Poet finished 5th, but I think this move back to the turf will help this horse. I will also add the number 10 Bound for Nowhere, who has some back form capable of winning this, but the 0 for 4 record at this distance is of a concern for the morning line favorite. And the final leg in the pick 5 sequence is a maiden optional claimer, $40,000 for 3-year-olds going 6 furlongs on the all-weather track. And it's a shame that we've got to finish off this great pick 5 sequence with a maiden optional claimer, but I'm going to admit I don't really have a strong opinion in this race. I think you could go most of these horses and still possibly not have the winner. If you have the budget, save yourself the frustration and just go all in this race. But I'm trying to keep my bet budget friendly, so I'm going to ultimately go 5 deep in this leg. My top selection is actually going to be a first-time starter, the number 7 horse, appropriately named 7 is a Breeze. I like the jockey-trainer combination, and I think that this horse could possibly like the sprint distance, so I'm going to take the chance that this horse wins at first asking. My second choice is the number 3 Dragon's Key, who has not raced in more than 9 months, but he is dropping in class off that initial maiden try seen here. In that race, Dragon's Key broke awkward and bumped a rival before settling in about 5 lengths off the pace setter in 4th place. He ran fairly evenly throughout the race, never making up or losing much ground. There wasn't a whole lot of change to the order, as only one horse in the field seemed to have any late run at all. It wasn't a horrible first effort, but again, it was 9 months ago. The reason I'm throwing this one in is because of the class drop. The speed figure that he ran that day wasn't completely off the rest of these, and his workouts leading up to this race are fairly decent, hopefully indicating he'll take a step up and run big off the layoff. As I said before, I'm going 5 deep in this leg, and in addition to the number 3 and number 7, I'm going to add the number 5 Sugar Ray, who's coming back off a 9-month layoff as well, but he is switching from turf to the all-weather in a class drop for strong connections. I'm also going to add the 2 morning line favorites, the number 11 Whereas Essa and the number 12 Mr. D. To be honest, I'm not really that high on either of these. The 11 has consistent speed figures, but wasn't able to notch his first win in a bit lower level races, so 3-1 is a tough ask for a horse that has had 5 tries already. The 12 is dropping in class, but appears to have regressed in each of his subsequent races off his initial maiden attempt. If he runs back to that first effort, he probably wins this one easy, so I feel like this horse has to be included. So putting that all together, here's how I'm going to structure the pick 5. In race 7, I'm going to go with the number 2 Pioneer's Edge, the number 4 Ephrata, and the number 8 CATICHE. Race 8 is going to be my single, the number 2 Lady Spitespear. Race 9, I'm going to go with the number 1 Ironstone, the number 4 Rondor, the number 6 Duke of Love, and the number 8 Mannix. In race 10, I'm going to go with the number 5 Tap It to Win, the number 7 Silent Poet, the number 10 Bound for Nowhere, and the number 11 Arzak. And finishing it off in race 11, I'm going to go with the number 3 Dragon's Key, the number 5 Sugar Ray, the number 7 is a Breeze, the number 11 Whereas Essa, and the number 12 Mr. D. The total at a 20-cent pick 5 is $48. So that's how I'm going to be playing this very difficult pick 5 at Woodbine. Do I think I'm going to hit it? I sure hope so, because I think it's going to pay pretty well. I think you're going to get some nice prices in a couple of these legs. If you're interested, check out my previous video where I break down the entire Churchill card for this very same day and include a pick 5 sequence in that one as well. And remember, if you like my video content, hit that subscribe button. You'll get notifications of when I post new videos. My name's Jeremy Pillmeyer, this is East Coast Wagering, and thanks for watching my video.